What is going on, guys? Welcome to a new episode of Crossout. My name is Treebugis and we're gonna science the shit out of Crossout today. Not really, because I'm not a scientist, but we're definitely gonna test some stuff that I've actually been discussing with some of my clan members for a long time now. And basically the discussion was based on my tsunami here. It has a quite wide spaced armor going on. And especially the ass here, like that is something that has been up for discussion a lot of times. I'm arguing one thing, one dude is arguing another thing. So we're gonna test it today, see, and I'm actually gonna talk about why it is built as it is built. So we are definitely also gonna cover a lot of spaced armor today, because a lot of you guys have been asking, like, yeah, how does it work? Why do you guys run big ass spiders like this? What's the point? It looks like shit. And I totally agree, but we have to. We also have my happy Mandrake here. Not really a discussion point, because this thing is fucking mental. It's so good. And basically, like, these two gun mounts right here were actually also something that I've been asked for. Why are they there? And I'm going to talk about why they actually are there. And I'm going to show you why they're there. But first, before we get into all of that, I want to roll some clips for you that I have recorded before actually doing this. The thing we want to look at right now is, first, we're going to check how the tsunami works. Then we're going to try to figure out whether we have, like, do we have actual true area of effect, or do we have some sort of damage penetration based on whatever part you hit. That's a thing for today. First off, let's start out this video by saying that if we have true AoE, like a true ball of AoE, we have a center of impact, which could be this point right here, and all the way around it. And here, like, you know, we're gonna have a sphere around here that will take damage based on how far away from the center of the explosion that we're actually gonna go. In this specific case, the tsunami has an area of effect of 6 blocks away in either direction, like a radius of 6 blocks on either side of the explosion. So if the explosion happens here, we're gonna have a damage spread out to 6 parts this way, that way, that way, that way, that way, you know, on all axes. Basically, it's a sphere around. So pretty basic. So let's just start out by running a clip here that shows how the AoE of the tsunami actually works. Roll it. Alright, so now that we know that, we can actually go on and test our first theory on how this works. The theory is as following: damage transfer. Like, if we hit a 120 hit on a big APC panel part, the next part should take 103 damage, because we know that the tsunami deals 223 damage on a basic full non-charged hit. So the base damage of a tsunami, 223, we're gonna hit a part. If that part takes more damage than it has health, the rest of the damage is gonna be applied to the layer behind it. That's our theory. So if we now shoot 2 APC panels, the first one takes 120 health hit because it has 120 health. The next one should be left with 103 damage, or 70 health actually, because it takes 103 damage. So we are gonna see still a hit of 223 total damage distributed over 2 panels. Let's roll the clip and see if that is actually the case. Good. So as we could see from that one, we definitely did not deal 223 damage. The damage averaged about 171. Like, I shot more than just those 2 clips, but that is basically how much damage it takes. What does this mean? This means that the first part fell off, so the first part has definitely taken 120 damage. A part cannot take more damage than it has health, so if there was only one part, our hit would have been 120 and nothing more. What this also tells us is that the second part has taken whatever was left from 120, in our case around 170 to 172, meaning that the second part has taken around 50 to 52 damage, leaving it with around 70 to 68 health. Let's roll a clip and shoot the second part and see if that is actually the case. So, as you can see there, the second part took just as much HP as we expected. This tells us that this is indeed what is happening. The damage has been taken by the part. It cannot take more HP than it was supposed to do. So the rest of the damage was applied on the next layer. Should this be true to our theory about true AoE, the second part actually should have fallen off as well. So this is interesting, meaning that we actually have to test more. If we retract 16.6 or 7% damage from 223, that is still 186 damage. So the second part actually should have fallen off as well if we had true AoE and no factors of damage transferring, damage absorption considering the size of the thing that we hit and all that stuff. So now let's try to swap out that first APC panel with a Friar from the Lunatics, because the Friar is a small part, it's a light part, it doesn't have a lot of HP. And let's see what actually happens now. The theory for theory 2 will be that if the front part is much lighter and has less HP, will that affect our result? If this is true AoE and nothing else, the second layer should still take around the same damage. If that works like that, then I know that we don't have true AoE, but if there is just AoE and no consideration of what the initial part actually hit, our second part should still take the same damage. Do you follow me? Because the explosion happened at X, and then we have some damage applied on point C, which should be the same if the part that is hit does not matter. I hope this makes sense. If not, it maybe do in just a second when we've actually tested. The thing that we want to do to challenge our theory is say that if there is some sort of damage passed through as well, our second APC part could end up with as little as 28 HP, because if we retract the HP from the Friar and considering what happened before, we could go very freaking low. I hope it makes sense. Let's just roll the theory clips and see what I mean. So as we could see from that, we definitely have some different damage going on. What we saw here was that the Friar's damage was indeed absorbed. We hit for 130 to 140, it fluctuated a bit more, and we're gonna talk about that why in just a second. Now let's see how much damage the APC panel takes. So the APC panel actually took 10 to 14 damage, meaning that the initial hit has hit it for something around 106 to 110. As the hit, the initial hit was around 133 to 140, the part actually took damage around the same numbers as the full tsunami shot, minus the 28 points that the first part soaked. I'm getting confused too right now, so if you are as well, don't worry about it. The only thing that we can actually conclude is that true AoE with damage reduction based on the distance from the center of the explosion does not occur. Okay? The thing that can affect this might be the size of the Friar that exposes the APC panel, though I doubt the developers have actually made a damage system this advanced. The way I want to see it is that, we have an 8x4 part and then we have a 4x4 part. So if the explosion happens here, some of the explosion, hits the APC panel of this side, exposing it to more damage than just the fact that the hit happened over here. And yeah, I don't know what to say about it different from that, other than this maybe actually help you understand just some of the way the damage works and why you don't want, you want your widest parts to be something that either A, can tank a shit ton of damage to reduce the damage on the next layers, or B, be spaced out far enough that the light parts actually still, absorb the initial hit, so the explosion still happens here, but the parts behind it are as doesn't matter if they take damage as well, so they can just be light parts as well. to make sure that you don't have it like a light part and then a heavy part, but the heavy part takes a shit ton of damage because the light part can absorb very much damage. And as we can see, we have some sort of damage pass through going, because if this was a hard part and this was a light part, the light part would probably survive, and we also, like, we had the hard part fall off, but the light part survives. If this was a light part though and this was a hard part, they might both fall off, considering that the shot came from this direction. Okay, finally here, just to make sure that there's nothing going on, that a light part does not allow pass through, but they simply just soak less damage from the next layer. I want to show you a clip where we actually have just a fryer and then 8 squares behind it. We have some very, very light parts. So let's just roll that clip. As you can see from that clip, the parts 8 blocks away did not fall off. So the explosion still only happens in a radius of 6 blocks from the center of the explosion. But we can also conclude that, like, there's no direct pass through going on. We didn't deal a amount, like an overkill amount, big enough to actually affect the parts 8 blocks away. The explosion still happens as is, confirming that you won't either hard parts as your outer parts if they are close to the next part, or you want light parts if the part next to you does not get affected by it, if you don't care about the part. The best way that I can actually show this is by going here to my tsunami. Let's assemble this tsunami. Because as you can see, this part is 4 blocks away, extended by 1 block by this downstream, and on the 6th block we have the Neon Santa. What this means and why this is the most, like, greatest setup in my opinion is the fact that the explosion happens on the 6th block because of the Neon Santa, meaning that this one will take a shit ton of damage because the Neon Santa has a very low durability. So the downstream falls off without a doubt as well. This could be replaced by a lighter part, indeed, which I'm actually going to do after this test, and the buggy engine cover might fall off as well. The good thing here is, and which will not be the case if I actually had removed this and put the Neon Santa right there, is that the Scorch is saved. That one takes 0 damage because we extended to 6 parts instead of 5 parts. Okay? Hope that makes sense. So this means that we still have a almost 50 durability item protecting our tsunami there and there. So we're actually protecting it for a total of 100 durability, depending on where the shot comes. The Scorched is 6 blocks wide. So if the explosion happens right there, if you're good at turning around and making sure that the guys hit your armor parts at the right spots, this one can actually tank a full hit, leaving this one intact. Which is why you want to use spaced ammo. I hope that makes sense. Also, the canvas roof here, if that one gets hit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, bam. The rear door will not take any damage, so you will still have 3 rear doors absorbing damage over here. And also the brazier there will not fall off because 6 blocks away. Nice. The canvas roof there as well. Now, couldn't you just go ahead and swap the canvas roof for something like a fryer, I don't have any more left, to make something lighter actually absorb the hit? Yes, you could, but the canvas roof has a very nice size considering its mass, and still it applies a decent amount of durability to your cabin. Say you actually fight a lot frontally and you actually do get hit. Because if we move this one like up here, the thing is about a tsunami, it's a delicate work of setting it up correctly without blocking the gun depression, gun firing angles. So you want to be very clever about it. Also, like, just moving on, as you can see, this fryer right here could actually be moved forward even further, but that doesn't matter because we have the small buggy floor and we have the buggy trunk, and these absorb like reduced damage because they can be shot through, and this applies to everything. There's a lot of dudes who has done a ton of science in this, but basically what this means is that the buggy floor, the buggy trunk, the gun mount, the buggy engine cover, everything takes 10% effective damage. The rest of the damage passes through. This, though, on the other hand, as far as I know, and we're not gonna... Oh shit, you guys are actually forcing me to test this. let's walk out to our test vehicle out here and see if the shot, like, can we shoot that buggy, like that gun mount over there, and then actually still see an explosion behind? Does projectiles go through? I honestly have no fucking clue. So let's just see. Nope, they definitely don't. And as you can see, it took 30 damage instead of taking 223 damage. The gun mount took 23, and then the frame it was sitting on took some of the AoE as well. That's why we ended up at 30. And this is why these parts are so freaking good, especially having them in front of your cabin, like on literally anything. Because this one soaks the explosion right there, bam, takes 10% damage, so you can't even shoot this off with just one cannon shot. So it basically, like, here's 2 tsunami shots blocked, here's 2 tsunami shots blocked before you even get to the Stabby Spider. Anything around this will still take the damage, like full damage, or wherever it was compared to where the radius of the explosion happens. If it's shot there, then stuff around here takes like reduced damage. And I don't know if the like damage transfer, AoE, pass through, whatever system is different with these. You're gonna have to go watch someone who signs the shit out of those. I do not want to do that. But let's get back to what we were actually talking about, the spaced armor, and why I have a brazier holding that freaking rear door there and nothing else. It's pretty freaking simple. Like, if I'm fighting a tsunami and he's looking at me from far away, if he shoots me and the shot passes through, like goes over my cabin but hits my ass right there, that part will fall off no matter what. So this could have been a freaking APC panel holding that part up. It will always fall off. If a cricket hit that thing, it would fall off. If I was shot in the ass, it would fall off. This is there, like, this is there to either soak damage to give me extra HP, or this part is right there if an MG is firing at me from my rear, because an MG does not have AoE and stuff like that. So there's literally no point in life where this could fall off without that rear door, you know, also being destroyed. This has to come off first, and any explosion that would take that one off would also rip the door off due to basic damage. It can never happen in any other way, trust me. And if the explosion happens up here, we're gonna be too far away for the brazier to actually be affected. Now, should you armor your ass more than this? Be my guest. I have never had the need. Do note that we're a clan sitting at 112th place, so people do not focus all that much on actually sneaking up on enemies and getting those good shots in on the juicy parts, because 90% of the time they actually forget where the juicy parts is when the fight is going on. So yes, I could move my engine up there and put it right there, but that would throw my build way off balance, and you don't want to be off balance when you fight like in clan wars. Moving on to the Mandrake, because the Mandrake was another discussion point. It wasn't really a discussion point, it was just more like, oh, shoot, nice. And hopefully by now, when you've seen the tsunami shot, you also realize why this gun mount is there. This gun mount is right there because there's an ammo box right there, and this gun mount can actually it can effectively, if an MG is shooting, it can effectively absorb 380 damage. An MG would still hit the expanded ammo pack, but an MG would have to shoot at this without it coming off. Yes, the expanded ammo pack might start burning, but then his enemy, like his friendly tsunami mate, comes in. And the MG has ripped off that shit, so there's just this one. So he thinks, oh shit, there's something burning in there, let's shoot at it. No way, brother, because he's gonna hit that gun mount. And as you just saw, the explosion is gonna happen here. The damage is not gonna pass through to there on cannon shots. So this is literally the best protection I could get from whatever part there is in this entire game at 43 kilograms. Which is also why we have something like the buggy floors here, because those, bam, can absorb a huge hit there, so the Mandrake doesn't get hit as easily. The buggy bombers as well, literally don't know how damage works on bombers, just that they have damage reduction. We're not going to talk about that just yet. Which is also why we have something like these buggy engine covers to protect our Bigfoot wheels. So, to sum this up, if you want to do spaced armor, the reason we do it is basically because you want to stay alive for as long as possible, fighting whatever you want to fight, which is why on a cannon you see the biggest based armor, because you will usually trade with cannons. So if that cannon, like if you're a good player, you shoot, like, you know, you stand there, you strafe back and forth because you're trying to get a good angle. He exposes himself, you shoot, and you turn your ass to him. He hits your side armor, you may have hit his guns, bam, you won. Moving on from that, there's a lot of dudes who's actually like, oh, well, how about Reaper spiders? How should I armor up a Reaper spider? Or how should I armor up, my aspects? That's another story. Like, that's a way different story. As you can see, this thing has quite a lot of armor just sitting there tightly around the cabin. I quickly just want to address that the reason that you do this is because the Reapers, like, if you fight a Reaper, you can take a shot and then turn the sides of the cannon, strafe in on him again, take a few shots, go there, because what you want to do as a Reaper is you just want to keep those guns heated up, and you know, your only job is just to focus on those guns, see if you can actually degun him before he deguns you, and just keep on shooting. Since you have to keep on shooting all the time, having a lot of armor to your cabin and having 2300 cabin durability is essential, because you're gonna tank a lot with your cabin. So you want as much HP on the cabin as possible, meaning like you don't spread it out, because you can't use that for anything, because if you spread it out, you're never gonna use that armor, because it might just fall off with one blast. This doesn't, because it's so tightly crammed up in there, so this can tank a lot without losing too much armor, and most of it is sitting in the rear. And if you face the front, you're not gonna lose this. You're gonna lose all of these parts as cabin damage. I hope this makes sense. Like, this was pretty much just a discussion video, but I wanted to address this because I know there's a lot of confusion going on about it, and you sometimes see people doing spaced armor where you're thinking like, dude, what the fuck? We can actually go in here just as a final example. Let me show you a Steppy Spider that a lot of dudes use, which I personally disagree on using. The main reason being that it's just like it's way too heavily armored. Let's just see, can we actually find it here? Let's go for legs as well. I know it's in here somewhere. There it is. Like, this thing right here, my personal opinion, this is fucking stupid. All of this shit could be used on additional layering around the guns. As you can see, like, one hit right there, bam, the entire shit falls off. And like, yeah, this is not good, because if you hit right there, that part might still come off, due to the simple fact that we just tested how AoE works. So a shot right there might actually still make that shit come off. So think about how you space your ammo, and hopefully you learned just a tiny bit from this. If you haven't, there's nothing more I can do. But I hope you enjoyed this video nevertheless. If you did, there's a like button down there below. Please hit it, so you can always like, show that you support me. There's also a subscribe button, so you can stay updated to my videos and all that shit. Until next time, have an awesome day, guys. Bye.